Hi everyone, it's Meg Sharp from the Cambridge Group of Clubs today, and I'm here today to take you through a mobility series. Everybody holds tension throughout their body in all kinds of different ways. And we know that tight muscles are incredibly uncomfortable, they make it difficult to release stress, they make it really difficult to exercise, to strength train, to cycle, to run, to walk, and simply to even sit in a comfortable position for a long period of time. So tightness in muscles is something we really have to get at. We also know that tight muscles are a reaction of the body trying to protect us. When they sense that a joint is not stable enough, that a muscle is not strong enough, that it can't handle the range of motion or load that we maybe are trying to make it do, the muscle compensates by tightening up. So getting that muscle to relax and lengthen is no easy task because the body is trying to protect you. So how do you send the signal to the body that it's okay to let go, that you want it to let go a little bit, that it would be far more comfortable to let go when it is trying desperately to protect you? We need to carefully override that protective mechanism. So tension is tricky. It's not just about the muscles, it's about the joints, and it's definitely about the fascia. And I'm not going to get too much into the science or details with you, but as we go through this series and move together, I'm hoping to start to help you understand some ways that we can create stability in certain areas of the body while we try to lengthen and relax other areas of the body as a way of letting the body know it's okay to let go of the tension in that area because I'm stabilizing and hanging on to the body in another place. So we definitely know that the body responds well to gentle movement in addition to creating stability in different places. So let's just try and get at it together and see if we can sort of make a bit more sense as we move. So you're going to come down on your knees together on your mat. Please feel free to double up that mat if it's more comfortable for you on the knees. I'm going to place my hands shoulder width apart. I'm going to create a little bit of stability, a little bit of tension through my lower abdominal to ensure that I've got a nice neutral spine. I'm gently drawing my shoulders down and back and thinking nice and long through the neck. So I'm really long from my tailbone through the top of my head. And then a deep breath in, and as I exhale, I'm going to push my hips to one side, breathe in, and breathe out. Push the hips to the other side. Pushing out on every exhale. Exhale, breathe in, and out. And as I feel those hips start to open a little bit more, I'm going to start to look over the opposite shoulder. So I've got energy in the hip and shoulder of one side, hip and shoulder of the other side. I'm trying to increase that range of motion of the hips and look a little further over my shoulder every time. So warming up through the spine, a little bit through the neck, and of course the hips. Breathing out, breathe in. Let's do a couple more. And one more time. And now you're going to transfer up and over onto your sit bones, and we're going to go into what's called a hip opener. So sit back on your hip bones. Feet are wider than shoulder width apart. Come down with your shoulders down again. Open up the chest nice and long through the neck. And then the emphasis here is on internal rotation at the hip. So I'm not driving my knee down, but rather I'm thinking about rotating my hip in the socket, just turning here in case it helps for you to have another view. I'm almost reaching my knee towards my opposite heel, if that gives you a good landmark. And as I continue to do it, it feels a little more mobile. Reach the shoulder now, potentially down and away from my ear on the same side of the knee that's reaching. Just warming up those hips a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to come into a half kneeling position. We're going to try and open up the hip flexor and get into that psoas a little. So for this one, I would recommend you double your mat underneath your knee. We're going to go 90-degree angle with both knees. I'm going to try and stretch through the hip flexor here. And I do know that I'll get a little more mobility if I think of externally rotating that thigh bone out a little bit, or almost thinking about opening the pelvis up. Now here I'm going to try and create stability around the hip flexors using the muscles in my glute and the muscles through my abdomen, which are going to create a little pelvic tuck under, which is going to actively lengthen the muscles through my hip flexors, if that makes sense. So I'm asking your chronically tight hip flexor to lengthen, at the same time sending the signal that the bum and the abdominal are going to do the work for that psoas and for those hip flexor muscles so that it can afford to let go and release a little bit. We're going to work lots on the breath because we do know that's really helpful for the fascia and extremely helpful for encouraging the muscles to both relax and contract in a really positive way. So I'm going to start this movement. As I breathe in through the nose, I'm going to exhale and simply tilt the pelvis under, flexing the bum and abs and feeling the stretch through that hip flexor. I relax, deep breath in, and exhale, come back. So I'm really nice and pinned, nice and solid through those hips, nice and square. A little bit of energy through the heel on the left leg. Deep breath in and exhale. I'm going to reach my arm up, keep the rib cage down for now. Deep breath in, breathe out. Try and reach the ribs away from the hips a little bit without moving that pelvis. Deep breath in, exhale, tilt. Okay, coming out of it now. Deep breath in, exhale. Let's try and really roll out of it. I'm going to come right behind. Deep breath in. Exhale, reach the middle finger away from your hip, which is nice and still, and then reach behind, have a look, come up tall and long through the middle finger. Exhale, reach, come across the body, energy through the leg, front leg, keeping the hips nice and square, reach up, drive the hip under as you exhale, stretch, open up through those ribs, through the armpit, inhale, and exhale. One more time, deep breath in, reach, traction the middle finger away from the hip and take it over and across. Beautiful. Same thing on the other side. So once again, nice strong energy through that heel, tuck those hips under, and here we go. Just the hips to begin with. Deep breath in, exhale, tuck the hip under. Good, deep breath in. Exhale, tuck the hip under. Deep breath in. Exhale, tuck the hip under. Deep breath in. Exhale, tuck the hip under, reach the hand. Deep breath in, relax. Exhale, flex the glute, abdominals, tuck the hip under, reach the hand up and away, not moving the pelvis though. Again, deep breath in. Exhale, tuck, reach. Start to move that arm a little bit. Deep breath in. Exhale. Try and get a little bit more of a swoop, a little more movement here. Deep breath in. Exhale, flex the bum and abs, reach across, lots of stability through this front leg, and again, reach that middle finger up, traction, and deep breath out. Again, breathe in, reach and look, nice and long. And exhale as you come across that body, opening up through the thoracic spine, right here. And then working on that rotation, keeping those hips really nice and square. Lots of energy through both sides of your glutes, this heel, and particularly the left side of your abdomen. And then let's go one more time. Reach and come across. All right, check it out. Fantastic. Let's keep going. So now we're going to try and get a little more into the glutes and move into the Qwells as well. So good to open up through that hip flexor, through that psoas before we start trying to stretch through the glutes, because that can help the pelvis move a little more freely and get into that stretch. One more time, I'm going to go into that internal rotation, and you may feel that it's just a tiny bit easier this time. And then you're going to choose one side, and you're going to drop to that side. And this is now the position for the next stretch. I'm going to turn a little bit so that my sternum is right over the knee. Now don't move, but I'm actually going to rotate myself about 90 degrees so you can see me a little bit better. Okay, so now I'm pinning this left sit bone down. I've got my left knee in front of me, and I'm thinking of creating stability through this side here. This is going to stay nice and solid, nice and still. I'm going to shift my torso across a little bit so that ideally my sternum is right on top of my knee. Hands on either side of my knee, drop those shoulders down. Again, nice deep breath in. And as I exhale, I'm going to reach the sternum down towards the knee. And then I'm going to come out of it the other way. I'm going to drop my chin towards my chest and roll back up. Deep breath in. Exhale. Breathe in. Start to walk the hands a little more towards the foot. Keep going. Deep breath in. Exhale. Deep breath in. Keep walking the hands. Deep breath in. Reach the top of the head, away from that sit bone, traction long through the chest, away from that left glute and sit bone. I've now got my hand on my foot to help me anchor and push my chest so that it's starting to come a little bit more over my shin, maybe over my ankle, maybe over my foot. And exhale, chest down, reach away from that back hip and roll yourself out of it. We're now going to come halfway down. Again, think sternum reaching away from the hip, almost as if I've got a line pulling through me that's pulling the sternum and hip away from each other. And now I'm going to roll over the foot. Just some nice little rolls, warming up, moving that bone through that hip socket, using this hand on my foot to help me push. And again, lots of movement through the shoulders here. Push. Try and move a little further over the foot. Push. And then if you feel a little stuck right there as you come out of it, which I do, you're just going to do some tiny pulses over top of that foot. Just little waves. We're going to do 5 of them. Deep breath in. 3. Reach with the chest, and then nice and fluid with the spine out of it. And one more time. Okay, and now from this position, we're going to go back into the hip flexor, try and get into the QLs a little bit. We're going to walk our hands back over, and then we're going to keep going until we reach a point when we can feel this hip flexor starting to open up again. So I've got a nice straight line again. I'm using my glutes on this right hand side now to flex, open up that pelvis. If you're comfortable, you're going to take this right down onto your elbow. And now I've got a nice long stretch through the hip flexor. I keep that knee pointed down towards the mat. So energy going into the mat, the knee moves away from me. Pelvis is still. Extend the hand up, extend through the middle finger, deep breath in. As you exhale, rotate again your sternum towards the floor. Deep breath in. Extend, baby finger away from the knee and hip. Hip stays nice and still, and I'm trying to look over my shoulder and have a peek at that foot behind me. Rotate down. And you can start to move the arm a little bit more if you want. Breathe in. And exhale. Sweep the arm. Breathe in. And exhale, rotate down. Trying to go a little bit further every time if you can. Let's do 2 more there. Deep breath in. Rotate the chest. And one more time. play with that one a little bit. We're gonna come out of it. But I know sometimes for me, it just feels really good to not add the sweep with the arm and just work on driving almost that elbow down towards the floor as I rotate through that rib cage. So from here, you're going to come up, back into that sits bone position, a few more internal rotations. Ideally, that one hip feels quite a bit different from the other. It feels a lot easier to almost flop it back in. And then you're gonna finish on the other side. So for me, that would be here. And again, I'm gonna flip around and work it from this angle so you can see a little bit better. Okay, so again, lots of energy through this right hip. I'm gonna push myself over and transfer my rib cage and my chest right over top of my knee. I've got my hands on either side to provide some stability. Square and drop those shoulders down. Nice deep breath in. Exhale, reach the sternum away from that glute, that right glute, and come back up. Deep breath in. And out. Deep breath in. Slowly start to walk the hands towards the foot. So now my chest is going a little bit more over the shin. Deep breath in. Exhale, reach sternum away from the sit bone. Roll that head back up. Deep breath in. Placing my hand on my foot just to anchor a little bit, allow me to push a little bit more. Keeping those shoulders nice and square. I'm going to do 2 more like this. Again, trying to push that chest so it's a bit more over top of the ankle or foot if you can get there. And then we're going to pause halfway down. On this one here, bring it halfway down, and now we start our circles over the foot. Moving with the shoulders and the spine, breathe. Out as you go over the foot. Out as you go over the foot. And a little bit further and deeper every time, those circles. Again, move the shoulders as well, keeping this hip nice and still. And again, for me, it is a little sticky right here over the foot, so I'm going to try and do a few little undulations right over that foot with the breath, still moving the spine, the thoracic spine by leading with the sternum, moving through the cervical spine, by also leading with the chin and then allowing the chin to tuck in and up. And one more time there. All right. And now we're going to perform our hand walk this way. So we walk, 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 and here we're going to go back into that hip flexor stretch from a different position. This is nice. There's no stress or pressure on the knee. And it also can help you get into the low back a little bit more. Again, if you're comfortable, you'll drop down to one elbow. Trying to make a nice straight line, or maybe even if you think of a bow and arrow, this might be a nice sort of long string from that bow and arrow. Reach the knee down towards the mat. Use energy through the glute and the abdomen to keep that hip forward. I extend the middle finger away, deep breath in, and I rotate the sternum and torso down towards the mat without moving the hip. Continue to lengthen through the knee, deep breath in. And exhale, trying to look behind me, looking at the foot behind me. Deep breath in. And exhale, deep breath in, and exhale, move the chest down, keep that hip nice and still, deep breath in, and again, I encourage you to play with this one, depending on how you're feeling. The swoop in the arm may not be where you want to go. You may prefer to simply work on that pure rotation of the sternum, different for everyone, depending on where you're feeling the tension. Deep breath in, exhale, and then we'll come out of it. So walk your way back. Once again, we'll come up onto those sits bones, sit yourself back, and see how that internal rotation feels. Mine feels so much better on both sides. Okay, So now I am going to turn. I think the easiest way to show you this one is to turn this way. You're going to stay with your body on your mat, but I'm going to come down into a T position. I'm going to flex through my abs, and I'm going to gently drop my knees to one side. Now, if this is too much rotation for you, grab a yoga block, grab a pillow, something, a few towels, so that your knees don't have to be quite down to the floor. If I bring my knees down to the floor, I start breathing in. As I exhale, I'm reaching my hip and my knees away from my midline and away from my shoulder and my arm, my hand, my middle finger. So I'm creating traction between my middle finger and my hips, my middle finger and my knees. I'm now going to turn my head in the opposite direction, and now I'm reaching my nose towards the floor. I'm continuing to reach my hips and my knees towards the mat. And from this position, I start to pronate and supinate the hand. Always thinking about reaching that middle finger away from me. I'm reaching it towards the window, reaching away from my nose, away from my forehead, away from my hips, and away from my knees. And you can move this in a gentle arc, move it up a little bit, continuing to pronate and supinate that hand. It should be clear though, I'm creating that rotation not at the wrist, but I'm creating it at the shoulder joint. So I'm rotating that humerus, that arm bone in the joint, back and forth. And I'm looking for those sticky spots. It's a little bit different for everybody, but looking to roll in and back again. Reach the nose towards the floor. Try and get into the muscles through the neck a little bit, the fascia through the neck as well as the shoulder. Keep reaching the knees and the hips down. Just this stretch alone, I love for when you've spent too much time sitting at your desk. Deep breath in as you exhale, gentle energy through the abdomen to help you bring the knees down to the other side. Hands extended out. Again, deep breath in as you exhale. Pull the hips away from your shoulder. Pull the knees down towards the mat. Lengthen through here and lengthen away from your midline with your middle finger and hand. Turn the face towards the other hand. And again, pronate and supinate with the rotation coming from the shoulder joint as you open up through that chest, through the torso, intercostals. Reach the knee towards, the knees towards the mat and also the nose towards the floor. Change the angle of that arc so the hand can come up a little bit and then still reach away, pronate and supinate. The hand can come down a little bit. Reach, pronate and supinate, and look for that sticky spot and find it. Rotate back and forth. Keep reaching the knees away from the middle finger. Reach the middle finger, all your fingertips away towards the opposite wall. Reach the nose towards the floor. And then when you're ready, let's take this hand, relax a little bit, reach this hand up, bring it all the way over. Roll yourself slowly up onto your elbow and back up into a sitting position. So that is a fantastic body break for you if you've been sitting too long. It's a phenomenal warm-up, and as you get good at it, you can actually be pretty quick. It doesn't need to take that long. You start to get into a really nice rhythm, and you can move quite quickly. In terms of a recovery method, I would slow it down, work lots of breathing, find those sticky points. But it does need some play. Everyone's tight in a few different spots. Give it a shot. Reach out if there's anything we can do to help. I hope you enjoyed it. It was great, great being able to share this with you from my home to yours.